Howdy, everybody, and a very pleasant game day to you wherever you may be. As the Aggies return to work from a bye week, we're getting ready to ramp back up here in Week 11. And first, a little bit of a recap for you. On September 27th, Texas A&M beat the Auburn Tigers. On October 25th, the Ags beat the LSU Tigers. And now the Fighting Farmers have a chance to complete the SEC sweep of striped felines and become the league's Tiger Kings with a win here this afternoon. Of course, the feline fun will put it aside because it is yet another big-time SEC game, perhaps the biggest game of Texas A&M's season, as we say that almost every single week, because as the Ags continue to win, each game only increases in importance. And in this one, it's the third-ranked, 8-0, unbeaten Fighting Texas Aggies heading to Columbia, Missouri to take on number 22 Mizzou, a 2:30 p.m. kickoff on ABC. Howdy, everybody. I am Richard Zane, and we want to thank you for joining us here on the TexAgs Tailgate show as we get you set for kickoff between the Aggies and Tigers. We're about 90 minutes away from kickoff, so here's what you can expect over the next 30 minutes or so. In just a few moments, we're going to check in with David Nuno, who is live at Faurot Field as warm-ups are about to get underway. He is going to get us set with the latest, perhaps a weather update, energy starting to build in Como. We'll check in with David Nuno here in just a couple moments. Throughout the show, we will give you some players to watch. We'll check in on the SEC student-athlete availability report. We'll give you an update on some Prize Picks player lines as you want to play your daily fantasy sports as well. And then we'll take a look around the country at some games to watch, and we'll also give you a few predictions and projections as well. We're just a couple seconds away from talking with Poppy, but first, let's go ahead and pay some bills. A ton of appreciation to our friends at Duck Camp for jumping on as the presenting sponsor of the TexAgs Tailgate show. Of course, whether you're hunting birds at sunrise or flipping burgers before kickoff, Duck Camp's got you covered this fall. Check it all out at duckcamp.com. They are built for the outdoors and designed for everything else. And I see him now, field level at Faurot Field in Columbia, Missouri. Looking good with that haircut. It's Mr. David Nuno, TexAgs Director of Content. Howdy, Poppy.
Hey, good afternoon, Richard. So I don't know if my internet's going to be good. So if I need to move here in a minute, Nick will let me know. But I also want to throw in one thing, Nick. If you do TexAgs 25 when you go to duckcamp.com, 25% off. Right now they have this sale going on. So there is that going on. Weather here, kind of overcast. I think the latest projections show some bad weather coming in after the game. I think we're going to be okay, but it is a playoff atmosphere outside and certainly here inside of Faurot Field.
So tell me a little bit more about the weather. We saw the forecast. It could be kind of chilly, could also be really windy, which would obviously impact Marcel Reed and, of course, Missouri quarterback Matt Zollers and their ability to throw the football. What's that like inside Faurot Field?
Right now, nothing. There's no wind at all. It is a normal day here. But my understanding is that could happen during the second half of the game. So it's something to keep an eye on for sure. But it is right now just like a nice day here in Columbia, Missouri. But I do think it's going to staple up a point, Richard, if that's even a sentence that makes sense. The Aggies have to take Mizzou's will. And by doing so, they have to stop Ahmad Hardy and company. You look at what A&M has done against other teams that run the ball very well. They've done a phenomenal job at stopping the run. The Arkansas game, that was a little bit more of Kalen Green's just magic. That's the only game that A&M hasn't really done a great job against the run. Notre Dame, they did an admirable job. They didn't shut down Notre Dame's running game, but they did an admirable job. After that, though, they've done a great job with Florida. They did a great job with Auburn, and they obviously did a great job with LSU. So there's been other examples of what A&M could do. And in those games, A&M's running game got going. They're going to have to win the line of scrimmage, something they've done many times. Mizzou loves to talk about their three defensive edges that can put some pressure. I think they have 3 in the top 10 in the entire SEC. And that's great, but they haven't taken on an offensive line like A&M. They haven't taken on an offensive firepower like Texas A&M. And I think A&M has taken on offenses with similar structure, if you will. And this might be the best defense A&M has faced this year, but I feel like we've said that comment several times heading into these games.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Notre Dame game, and A&M did an admirable job of stopping that run game. No one really bottles up Jeremiah Love and J.D. Price. People have bottled up Ahmad Hardy, though, right? In his last 3 games, Missouri is 1-2, the one being a double overtime win over Auburn. The other 2 losses to Alabama and Vanderbilt. In each of those games, he's been held under 100 rushing yards. In each of their other wins, he has gone over the century mark. So what is the key to slowing him down? And keep in mind that linebacker Scooby Williams, one of the more sure tacklers on this Texas A&M defense, out today.
Yes. First off, you can't have misfits, right? A&M, I think, certain times gets himself out of position, and that's what causes these big runs. I know I've talked to a couple of folks on the sidelines already today that has been a big initiative for A&M this week. It's like, be sound, be in your area, and do not miss your fits. And that's going to be a big part of what A&M has to do. As for Ahmad Hardy, look, I think he had 90 in his last game, and a 90 is nothing to go home upset about. That being said, as good as some of the teams they have played, I don't think those teams have A&M defense. Vanderbilt's got a nice defense. They don't have the A&M defense. Alabama's got a nice defense. I don't think they have the ability to put the pressure that A&M does. So I think it's kind of difficult to compare those two. But if you look at those 2 losses combined, they lost by combined 10 points in those games. And I think that is something that, we talk about the strength of schedule and the strength of record for A&M. When you look at what Mizzou's done, they've lost to 2 top 10 teams at the time, at least, that by a combined 10 points, 3 points to Alabama right here in Faurot Field.
Let's talk about that Aggie defense, because I think we heard on Tuesday night from College Football Playoff Committee Chair Mack Rhodes, who has since found himself in hot water just up the road in Waco, that the defense isn't really that good, or it doesn't stack up to what we're seeing out of Columbia or Columbus or Bloomington, Indiana. So what do you think about the Aggie defense, and will they take that to heart and kind of come out with something to prove this afternoon?
I forget if Olin said it on the show, if he had a column on this, but if you look at a lot of A&M's points in these games and yardage, they've happened late. There was a late score in the Missouri game. There's been late touchdowns. Even the Arkansas game, where it felt that that game was over. Martell's touchdown gets called back, and then Arkansas has the ability to score a late touchdown. So a lot of these points have happened late. This defense has been really good, except when they're sloppy. So it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Do not be sloppy with your misfits, and do not be sloppy with dumb penalties, because I think dumb penalties is the only way A&M loses this game. You can't have dumb penalties. You can't have turnovers on the road. They were able to get away with it in Baton Rouge, but this is a different Missouri team. I think that LSU team, even though they felt great about where they were at halftime, we all knew that A&M had complete control of that game. It'll be interesting to see how this first quarter goes here at Mizzou, because what A&M has had a problem doing is not finishing halves well. Get off to a good start, finish a half well. If you have a nice lead against a Mizzou team with a freshman quarterback, and you are able to bottle up Ahmad Hardy, which I think the defense, that's going to be their main mission, is to stop the run. I think A&M has no problems in this game. But if you can't stop Ahmad Hardy and you allow a freshman quarterback to feel that he can keep that A&M defense, not in check and not in balance, I should say, then I think it opens up a lot more doors for this Mizzou offense. But if they become one-dimensional and A&M is able to bottle it up, it's going to be a long afternoon for Zolvis.
You mentioned not turning the ball over, and I'm sure that's got to be the emphasis for the Texas A&M offense, whether it's coming from head coach Mike Elko or the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator in Colin Klein. Marcel Reed's turned the ball over 6 times over his last 6 games, including twice in Death Valley. Obviously, it hasn't hurt the Aggies yet. Marcel Reed, obviously a Heisman contender, one of the front runners for the most prestigious award in the sport right now. But if Texas A&M is going to get to 9-0 and he's going to keep that campaign on track, he's obviously got to win today at Faurot Field. And I think the path to doing so is to playing clean, turnover-free football for the first time since early in the – well, I guess he did it at Arkansas. So just the 4th time all year, I should say.
Yeah, look, you can't go on the road and have turnovers. And he would love to have a couple of those red zone ones back. There's no doubt about it. I was actually talking to his dad before the game. He knows he shouldn't have thrown that red zone interception against LSU. That being said, I think he is, he's been unlucky a couple of times. He's made some plays that you'd like to have back. But at the end of the day, it is the ability to now throw in the pocket that has changed his game, which now has opened up his legs to be a dangerous force at the end of the year. And remember, early on, we were kind of wondering, hey, when is Marcel going to start running again? He didn't have to. He was throwing the ball so well, he didn't have to. Now he's still throwing the ball well, but that added element makes these defenses kind of have to second guess what they're going to be able to do. But he just got to play clean. This whole team, look, This is November. We've been in this position before. When I say we, the Texas Aggies have been in this position before. They have to play clean football, and I think they do that with their quarterback starting it off and also special teams. Yeah, you can score on special teams. We've seen that from KC and company, but you also cannot have a blocked punt, and I think that is something they've certainly worked on this week.
Absolutely. Can't give up 3 points on defense or special teams. David, on the way out, I always ask you an X factor, a player to watch, and a score prediction. What do you have for me today, sir?
Oh, a play. So an X factor, I'm going to go Mario Craver. I know that it's weird. Like sometimes both he and Casey have these games where they'll have a play that, oh, he's the X factor or he's the X factor. I think this is going to be the Mario Craver game where we're talking about him afterwards. Like, there goes Mario again. A player to watch. I want to watch Cassius Howell. And I know that's a Captain Obvious guy to watch. But so there's been some talk about Caden Green being not so good at left tackle. And there's been some talk about Caden Green getting this PFF grade. He's only given up 1 sack. I actually followed up with a couple of insiders this week after we did our Nuno's notes. I'm like, hey, man, PFF has this stat line on Caden Green. They're like, yeah, that's cool and dandy. But he is often reaching. And I believe Fabula was sacked 15 times this year. If only one of those came from Caden Green, it's because maybe the edge rushers on Caden Green's side have forced him to the opposite side. So I think that is a matchup to watch. And I certainly think Cassius Howell, if he lines up on that or on the right tackle who's has some issues, he's going to have another couple sack games. And then score, I'm going to go 34-20 Texas A&M.
34-20, that would be a cover. I like that. David Nuno, as always, thank you so much for joining us on this TexAgs Tailgate show. 2 things for you. 1, of course, keep Olin Buchanan in check. I know he's a problem child up there in the press box. And 2, I'll knock on wood for you. No TSA issues and travel issues getting home, sir.
Please not, because I have a 5 a.m. flight, and that means I got to get to the airport at 3:30. I'm not excited about that. But, hey, can I just brag for a second? This shot, it looks good, doesn't it? Like,
it looks amazing. You did a great job.
Get away with it.
You're like one-man banding it, too, right? It looks fantastic.
No, I got an entire crew here. I got a teleprompter. I've got a PA, a TA, and an SA all here with me.
Yeah, of course. So when you are royalty and you travel, you get the entire crew to go with you. David Nuno, thanks so much, and we'll see you on the post-game wrap, right?
You got it. Yes, sir. Brandon Leone, CT, and Chris Harrington.
Of course, we'll break it all down after the fact with David Nuno and those former players. Want to thank David Nuno so much for taking some time to join us. And, of course, after watching him on the Tailgate show, I need to schedule my appointment to go see the barber. He's clean cut. He's got a good haircut and all of that. So making me feel a little homeless-like today. Nick Savage, do you have that update of the student-athlete availability report?
Yeah, it's ready to go.
Because that came out just at the top of the hour.
I'm going to spoil it a little bit. Nothing's changed.
I know. I saw it. Nothing has changed. Of course, we know Scooby Williams, Bryce Anderson, Le'Veon Moss, and Rashad Tom Johnson Jr. out for the Aggies. And then on the Missouri side, of course, starting quarterback Bo Pribula, he is out with that ankle injury that's going to cost him likely the rest of the regular season. Kicker Blake Craig out. Backup quarterback Sam Horn, although he's been hurt since the Central Arkansas game. The Dodger signee still out. He's going to be out for the rest of the year with a broken tibia, I believe. And then tight end Brett Norfleet out. That's an interesting one, although nothing has really changed over the last couple of weeks or couple of days as far as the Missouri student-athlete availability report is concerned. With that, let's go into our players to watch. For the Aggies, we talked about this guy, and we talk about him a ton because, quite frankly, I don't care if it's low-hanging fruit to highlight the Heisman frontrunner or Heisman contender. Quarterback Marcel Reed's my guy to watch. He's completing 61.4% of his passes. He's thrown for just under 2,000 yards on the year. He's combined for 23 total touchdowns. The most important thing for him to do today is to limit the turnover. We already said earlier, 6 turnovers, 6 interceptions in his last 6 games. He did not throw one in that shootout in Fayetteville just a few weeks ago, but got to play clean football away from home. And if Texas A&M is going to continue to go on this run, and 2025 is indeed looking magical, right, Nick? The stars have to play like stars. That begins with your quarterback, number 10, looking for him to have another big game tonight to get Texas A&M another big road victory against a ranked opponent. On the other side, when it comes to the defense, we're going to talk a lot about Ahmad Hardy here in just a couple of minutes, but it's going to come down to run fits, and it's going to come down to tackling one of the best running backs in the entire country. With Scooby Williams out, a lot of focus is going to be on Torian York and Damian Sanford. My guy to watch today is the captain, number 21, Torian York. He's got 45 total tackles. He leads the team. 20 of them are solo stops. He's got 2.5 TFLs and a sack. For the Aggies to beat Missouri, they're going to have to keep Ahmad Hardy in check. They can't give up yards after contact too frequently. It's going to begin with the linebackers and their run fits. That's why I'm highlighting Torian York. Obviously, they could have gone with Cassius Howe, but, we'll talk a little bit about him a little later on in the show, as I think he's going to get home on a true freshman quarterback later on today. On the Missouri side, it is that running back, my guy to watch, Ahmad Hardy. He's the SEC's leader in rushing at 937 yards. He's averaging over 100 yards per game. He's averaging 5.9 yards per carry. He's got 11 total touchdowns. But this is very much a they go as he goes kind of situation with the Missouri Tigers and Ahmad Hardy. We've talked about it. He's been held under 300 or under 100 yards in each of his last 3 games. They sandwiched a win in double overtime against a very bad Auburn team with a loss to Alabama at home and then a loss at Vanderbilt last week. A&M's run defense has been good, but for them to win this game, they'll likely need to be really, really good, and they've got to keep one of the top running backs in the country contained for that to happen. On the defensive side, I could have gone with those 2 edge rushers, right? Zion Young, Damian Wilson II, but I'm going to go with the defensive back, Dre Norwood. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he spent a year at Texas A&M when he was then going by Drayden Norwood. He's dropped the Den. He's Dre Norwood. He is the Missouri leader in PBUs with 15 tackles, 12 solo stops. The reason I highlight this guy is because for all of the love that the pass rushers are getting on this Missouri defense, their passing defense is actually tops in the SEC, limiting opponents to 155.4 yards per game. Obviously, if Marcel Reed is under pressure from those 2 pass rushers, the secondary could have a day. Drayden Norwood seems like a guy that could get his hands on an interception or 2 if Marcel Reed is reckless or careless with the football. That's why I'm highlighting Dre Norwood as a guy to watch. And with that, we'll get you an update on some Prize Picks player lines just ahead of Texas A&M at Missouri. Once again, Prize Picks, the best place to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and use code TexAgs when you sign up to receive $50 after you play your first $5 in lineups. Nick, I know Luke provided us with some player lines to watch. Do you have a few that you're keeping an eye on? I know I highlighted a lineup I would put together if you were allowed to put a lineup of guys in one game, right? They don't let you do that.
Yeah, I always stay away from the fantasy score stuff just because I'm never too confident in that. But let's go. I'm going to go over 25.5 pass attempts for Marcel Reed. I think he'll be able to sling it today. Mario Craver, David Nuno already highlighted him, but I'll go over 26.5 longest reception. And then I'll give you one more, maybe, let's see here, more than half a touchdown. There's quite a few players you can get in on here. I'll go Mario Craver again. I'll throw that one in there. I think he's going to score today. So that would be my lineup if I could.
I like those as well. Some squares I like. Casey Concepcion, I like his longest reception to be over 24.5 yards. I like Marcel Reed's longest rush to be over 15.5 yards. We've seen him use his legs a lot the last couple of weeks. And then, of course, I'll take Marcel's passing and rushing total to be over 266.5 yards. When it comes to Ruben Owens, I want to go ahead and say I'll take less than the 1.5 rushing and receiving touchdown line. See Ruben get in the end zone twice. That thing seems a little high for me. I think the Texas A&M tailback gets in the end zone once, but maybe not twice. And then as far as those half touchdown lines, as Nick was talking, I'll take Nate Berkacher to get in the end zone. You never know. Is he going to do it as a rusher? Is he going to do it as a receiver? You never know.
That's a great point.
That's just an update on your Prize Picks player squares. To see the full list, go to prizepicks.com. Of course, use prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use code TexAgs when you sign up. A free guaranteed $50 after you play your first $5 in lineups. Nick, I know you're kind of privy. You're around for a lot of these as you direct and produce TexAgs Live almost on a daily basis. And throughout the week, as always, we have a number of really, really good guests coming on TexAgs Live and TexAgs.com content. Of course, if you are not a regular listener, it's 8 to 11 a.m. weekday mornings, KZ&E in town, our YouTube page, TexAgs.com/live. We've got guests like Josh Pate. We're going to hear from him in just a second. What about Marty Smith, Brooks Austin, the film guy? On and on. We've got Hall of Fame writers. We've got former players. You want to check out TexAgs Live. I promise you, going to highlight some of those perspectives we heard on our airways earlier this week. First going up, we didn't talk about him before the LSU game, but we will now because he had a ton of stuff to say. And, of course, I want the TexAgs Tailgate show to be Pate State material. The future commissioner of college football himself, Mr. Josh Pate, on why the Ags should not overlook this trip to Columbia. One, Matt Zollers might get a little bit of a bump as the backup quarterback with everybody around him, the 10 other guys on the field kind of elevating their game. Two, revenge factor. Remember, the Ags kicked the crap out of Mizzou last year, 14-10 at Kyle Field. And three, Missouri also coming off the bye. So Eli Drinkwitz and company have had a couple weeks to prepare the game plan around Mr. Zollers. And four, A&M has kind of struggled in the past on the road. I don't know if you've heard this. I also don't know if you've heard that November has kind of been a boogeyman for Texas A&M football. Here's Josh Pate in his own words.
If you've ever watched enough of college football, you know that when the starter goes down, for any program that has a pride about itself, the collective understanding from a defensive lineman, a safety, a wide receiver, that we got to shoulder a little bit more of the load. When you stack all that on top of each other, sometimes it more than makes up for the gap. David, sometimes they play their best game of the year when the backup quarterback's in. It makes no sense. So you double that when you're coming out of a bye. You got a really sharp offensive staff in Missouri. They went down there and got blanked last year in College Station. I know because I was down there. It was the most boring game we went to all year, which is a very big compliment to Mike Elko and those guys. And so you got the revenge factor. You got the backup quarterback factor. You got 2 weeks to get ready for it. And I think if that didn't wake you up enough, if A&M's struggles on the road historically aren't fresh enough in your mind, not this year so far, but historically, if that's not fresh enough in your mind, if the understanding that this is new territory for A&M, this is sort of rarefied air for them, and you got to go on the road here in November, if that doesn't wake you up, maybe that point spread woke people up when it started circulating, and it was, at last check, under a touchdown. Maybe that woke people up. Watch what Texas struggled to do in Starkville. Georgia's going to Starkville this weekend. That line's around a touchdown. So this league this year, man, the worst are not terrible. The best are not great. And so I'm not saying it's fully like the NFL. It's not quite that parity-driven, but it's a lot more compacted than it normally is. So I'm not saying it should be your worst nightmare to go to Columbia, Missouri. I'm just saying don't overlook it.
Definitely not overlooking it, because another factor at play here is the physicality of these two teams, right? Yes, we know Texas A&M's been really, really good up front on both the offense and defensive line, because Texas A&M's got the Maroon Goons. They might be the front runner for the Joe Moore Award this year. And then, of course, Cassius Howell, and they lead the SEC in sacks for all teams that have played just 8 games. But take a look at Missouri, and you don't have to look too much further than Wilson and Young. Those dudes are insane pass rushers, extremely physical. Earlier this week, we heard from SEC Network host Peter Burns on Wednesday. He spoke about Missouri being one of the more physical teams in the league and why Mike Elko and his Aggies have to be ready for it.
No, I mean, I think the thing is that LSU didn't have the physicality. They weren't ready for a fist fight, and that's what A&M brought to Baton Rouge, 2 weeks ago. And Missouri's ready for it, especially at their house. I mean, each year I always ask at spring meetings, like, what team, to all the players and coaches, what team surprised you with the physicality that you did not expect? And almost to a T, I've always told Missouri, which is shocking to me. And yet they find out, they're like, man, that team, whether or not it's the brand and people aren't aware of it, they're like, every time we're like just battered and bruised. Like, we expect A&M to be a physical. We expect Alabama and Georgia to be physical. But then everyone comes around after the Missouri game, goes, that's a physical game. So I think this one tells me more about Mike Elko, honestly, than anything, is the fact of, in the past, were you resting on what your records are? But for Elko, is it more of, it doesn't matter. we haven't done jack squat right now. And there are Aggie fans that are like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't feel that. I would be disappointed if A&M doesn't come in prepared, because I've got no sense that Elko kind of looks ahead. In fact, if anything, I mean, I've learned so much about Elko in these halftime speeches and how he handles a team to think I've got more confident that a letdown does not happen in College Station.
Haven't done jack squat yet. We talked about it a few moments ago. 2025 is kind of shaping up to be a magical year, but they haven't done jack squat. A reason why it looks so magical and a reason why the Aggies are 8-0 is because of the play of Marcel Reed. He's a Heisman candidate, no question. You heard Eli Drinkwitz say that earlier this week. But when you get to interact with this young man, and we do from time to time here at TexAgs, you can tell there's something special about number 10. And here is Andrew Monaco, the voice of the Aggies, on Marcel Reed's leadership qualities both on and off the field.
Because, I mean, he is, I think, kind of the respect that I had for Henry Coleman, I have for Marcel. Like, they're just a great ambassador for this university.
That's a really, really good comparison. I think you've nailed it. Yeah, and I think that's smart. Like, we have gotten away from Marcel being, oh, he's so athletic. Marcel's a quarterback.
Yeah.
Big difference. And he's just got command. And you've seen the growth week to week. He's better every week because of what Marcel is doing. And he's invested all of that. And when Mike Elko said in the offseason that Marcel understands what it means to be QB1 in the SEC, that's not just the playbook. That's not just Saturdays. That's everything that goes with it. Being a leader on and off the field.
You want more of that voice, and why wouldn't you? One of my favorite people, one of Nick Savage's favorite people. You can find the Texas A&M radio broadcast with Andrew Monaco, Dave Elmendorf, and Will Johnson across the Texas A&M radio network. If you are locally at 1620 AM, 94.5 FM here in Bryan College Station, and if you are out of the Brazos Valley, you are outside of Aggie land, to find more information and even a streaming link to that radio broadcast, go to 12thman.com/coverage. And while we're talking about links, if you liked what you heard from Josh Pate, if you liked what you heard from Peter Burns, and if you liked what you heard from Andrew Monaco, all three of those interviews and so much more content, guys, I cannot begin to tell you how much content is available for the TexAgs Premium subscriber. If you are not one, you want to jump on now. We've even got a subscription special going on right now. TexAgs.com/subscribe. You will not regret it, I promise you. Mr. Savage, are we ready to get into our games around the country?
Yeah, let's do it. And as a matter of fact, one just changed, so I'll update the graphic. But Mississippi State just punched it in to make it 38-14.
Well, good for the Bulldogs, only down 24 points. That first game on top of the schedule, that one went final last night. A lot of fun, actually, if you didn't watch it. Sorry you guys missed out. But Tulane beat Memphis in Memphis 38-12. Big-time game for the college football playoff implications, especially when it comes to that group of 5 spot. Memphis's percent chance to make the playoff, according to the All-State Playoff Predictor on ESPN, drops to 3%. Tulane still alive at 12%. USF currently leading group of 5 schools at 39%. And they are followed by North Texas at 28% and James Madison at 27%. That game saw Arrington Maiden, Bryan College Station's own Arrington Maiden, get in at some reps for Memphis as their starter went down. But it was the BYU/Tulane quarterback, Jake Retzloff, coming through with 333 passing yards, 43 rushing, 4 total touchdowns as the green wave rolled. Nick, say that 3 times fast.
I just want to know, did you make up Tulane? Or
No. That's been a thing for a little while. Nick's got the updated graphic. It does not look like a look-ahead game for the Georgia Bulldogs. They are taking it to Mississippi State in Starkville. They lead 38-14. There's only 3 ranked versus ranked matchups. One of them is already underway in Lubbock, Texas. And the Red Raiders are currently pitching a shutout late in the 3rd quarter. Tech up 19-0. College Game Day was there. First time that's happened since 2008 for that crazy game between Tech and Texas. Michael Crabtree ripped the hearts out of Longhorns everywhere. It's always fun to bring up the fact the Longhorns lost a football game. But Texas Tech keeping their playoff chances alive, it looks, in Lubbock right now. Not too many great games in the 11 o'clock hour, so we'll tell you to tune in, maybe split screen that number 9 versus number 20 Oregon-Iowa matchup. That's just the third of 3 ranked versus ranked matchups. There's a rivalry game in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The line only 10.5 in favor of the 4th-ranked Tide over the LSU Tigers, who will be playing a game without Brian Kelly for the first time in 4 years. And then the later game that might be of some interest, Notre Dame only has 2 tests, quote-unquote tests, remaining. If you consider Navy a test, the Irish 27.5-point favorites over the midshipmen. Notre Dame plays Pitt at Pitt next week. Other games, Texas A&M related. Last night, Jamie Morrison and company won their 8th straight game with a sweep of Auburn on the Plains. They are now 20-3 overall, 12-1 in the SEC, currently in 2nd place, and closing in on a coveted double bye in the SEC tournament and a very, very high seed in the NCAA tournament, which will be in just about a month's time. Emily Helmuth led the way with 15 kills. Logan Lednicky's now 5th all-time in kills with 15.25 to her credit. Maddie Walk, the nation's leader in assists per set, 44 assists and 3 kills across 3 sets. Next up for them is at Florida on Wednesday, 6 p.m. first serve. To Luke Evangelis's chagrin, we have to highlight Buckyball. They are 2-0. They're averaging over 100 points per game. That's not a typo or a misquote. A&M heads to Stillwater for a Sunday afternoon game. 1 o'clock is a tip on ESPN2, Ags and Oklahoma State. More preview coverage on that game available now. We'll have more preview coverage a little bit later on this evening and tomorrow morning, and full coverage of Ags and Pokes. And, of course, I want to give a shout-out to Joni Taylor and company for winning their first game of the year Wednesday night. They defeated Corpus Christi. It was a 30-point gap. That is the widest margin of any Aggie Hoops team so far this year. We'll see if Bucky and company can top that later on tomorrow, later on this weekend. Joni Taylor and the Ags back in action on Thursday afternoon for a game against Tarleton. It's 11 a.m. that tip-off. That is elementary school night, so there will be a bunch of screaming kids.
Absolutely electric atmosphere.
Yes, electric is the words. They love the song Ski Yee. I remember the last time they had that song on, the DJ played it, the kids went wild. And, of course, a shout-out to Miss Kay Naley for her coverage of the women's teams. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, Nick Savage. I'll share with you some predictions. Last week, we went 3-2. We are 18-15 overall. I do have to give a shout-out to Yoshinobu Yamamoto. It was not a football pick. I said he was going to go 7. He gave me a complete gamer in game 2. And, of course, the Dodgers went on to win the World Series. Humble brag. I'm done. Won't mention them again on the rest of my TexAgs Tailgate shows this year. Predictions for today, all right? Give me more Cassius Howe, right? He's 9.5 sacks on the year. I think he's going to get to Matt Zollers at least once, push that sack total into double digits. Give me at least 1 sack for number 9. Second one, I've been kind of riding with it all year long. It really hasn't given me any fruits just yet. But, man, I'm going to stick with it because stopped clocks being right and such, A&M is going to come away with an interception of Matt Zollers today. I feel it. It's going to happen. True freshman, might get rattled by Mr. Number 9, might make a bad decision, might feel a little rushed. And Will Lee, Marcus Ratcliffe, Des Ricks, Tyreek Chappelle, Dalton Brooks, somebody's going to get their hands on the ball. Texas A&M's going to have an interception today. On the flip side, Marcel Reed, we've talked about it earlier. He's got to play turnover-free football. I'll take that. Marcel Reed is not going to turn the ball over today. When it comes to more predictions, I'll say Ahmad Hardy breaks that 100-yard plateau. But here's another thing I'll say about that prediction. For the first time this year, when he rushes for 100 yards, Missouri will lose the football game. And then my fifth, that was my 5th prediction. So Hardy's going to go 100 yards, but they're going to lose. Texas A&M gets to 9-0. Nick, anything else you want to highlight or you've got on your mind before we get the kickoff just about an hour away on ABC?
Yeah, with road games, I'm always worried about how the games start. It matters so much for the momentum of the game. So if A&M can get out to a hot start, prevent early turnovers, maybe get an early turnover, go up by 2 scores, 10 points, 14 points, everything changes, right? Yep. So we'll see if the Aggies can do that here tonight. And yeah, I think I'm with you. I think I said yesterday A&M 38-24. So I'll stick with it.
Love it. That's going to do it for us here on the TexAgs Tailgate Show. For David Nuno and his entire army of people producing his hit up in Columbia, for our director, producer behind the glass, Nick Savage, thank you so much for tuning in as we get you set for Texas A&M at Missouri. Number 3 Aggies, number 22 Tigers, 2:30 p.m. Central Time on ABC. Once again, if you are a YouTube TV subscriber, plan ahead, find yourself a bar to go hang out at, and make sure you get yourself ready, get your minds right as the Ags are ready to beat the hell out of Missouri.